how to distinguish love from attachment?
Really extraordinary love, it's a container that's flexible. And so if we have a small container around our relationship, then one person can't change, grow, or shift inside it.
What truth about relationships people with whom you work are not very easy to accept or to hear?
What truth is easy to hear? That they both play a role. There might be leading actors and supporting actors, but they both play a role in the connection or disconnection, safety and non-safety, fidelity or non-fidelity. They both play a role in co-creating the condition that the relationship is in. And this can be hard to hear for somebody that feels like they are being victimized in their relationship.
How do you define love?
It's a good question. One that's really hard to answer because it depends. Do we love pizza? Do we love ice cream? Do we love palm trees? Do we love our partner? So I recently attended a talk where it was defined of the 8 types of love and going back into ancient Greek mythology and the different types of love. So I'm going to answer your question, Nick, assuming you're answering what does romantic love mean?
If somebody is struggling in their relationships right now, listening to us, watching to our podcast right now in our conversation, and they start asking themselves questions, what should they do first?
This cup says, be a kind human. And this cup just says X's and O's. We have our own happiness cup. Mine's filled with water. And it is our job to fill our own cup.
Do you found any reason why do you sabotage your own happiness? Do you think that modern relationships are getting weaker or stronger? What was the hardest belief you had to accept about yourself? Guys, I need to say something. We're building something really special here. The level of guests, the conversations, the depth we are going in week by week, it's becoming better and better, more and more valuable. But there is one thing which doesn't make any sense. Almost 90% of you who keep watching the episodes, who keep coming back week by week, are not subscribed yet. Which means one thing, you're not fully part of that journey. I get it. It's one click. It feels small. But for us, and myself personally, means everything. It tells the algorithm that we matter, it helps us reach bigger guests and create better and better podcast episodes, which at the end of the day are equally for myself like for yourself. They bring the value. So if there was ever a moment to support us, I please you to do it right now. Check if you're subscribed, and if you're not, it's completely free. It doesn't mean to you that much like it means to us. Just click the subscribe button, and by that way, you will help us grow bigger and bigger. And what I can promise you is that me and my team will continue making improves and very soon move ourselves to the real studio where we will record even more powerful episodes with same and new guests. Check, are you subscribed? And subscribe right now. Thank you. Hailey Patry, thank you so much for being today with me. And before we even start speaking about something that you have been speaking thousands of times in 136 countries, like you said, I want to ask you, who were you before the Hailey Patry we know today?
Oh, Nick, it's such a good question. And first of all, it's such an honor to be on the show with you today and to spend time together because I know you love to dive deep. So if you met me now and you knew me then, you would not think that we were the same woman. Who I used to be before becoming a happiness coach, marriage coach, and success coach, I was somebody in high school, Nick, that was so shy, I ate my lunch in the bathroom for 2 years. Now, if I'm speaking on a stage with thousands of people and I don't feel nervous at all, if you knew me 30 years ago, I couldn't speak to you about anything or make eye contact. And so for everything that I do in my work today, it's not just very different than who I was, it's also because of who I was. I was somebody that battled depression from the age of 8 till 16 and an eating disorder. Now I teach body confidence and happiness. I was somebody that was attacked at knife point when I was 17 and have had many reproductive and reconstructive surgeries. I've had in my life 11 operations. And now I teach resiliency and overcoming trauma. I was somebody that had a low self-esteem, and I was in a marriage that was violent and unsafe, and I left with a baby when I was 27. And now I'm happily married to my second husband, my upgrade husband. For 16 years, we're together, and I teach love and safety and healthy communication. So I'm very different now than who I was, but I wouldn't be me today if I didn't have to go through being her first, surviving her traumas, and then learning how to thrive after them so I could help other people thrive from theirs.
Absolutely. First of all, congratulations on being
Thank
that
you.
long married. This is
Thank
amazing
you.
thing. Nowadays, this is a very big respect from me towards everybody who is in long relationships, because I think that
Yeah.
one of the qualities of the people who are in entrepreneurial world is how long and how satisfactional marriage do they have.
Yeah.
And this really talks a lot. But to go back on the topics which you just scratched right now, I was thinking for somebody to be a happiness coach, there must be a moment where you were extremely unhappy. And
Absolutely.
you just now told me that. My question
I
to
call
you
it the
is,
buffet. When someone
mm,
asks me, how are you so happy all the time? First of all, I correct them. I say, I'm human just like you. I'm not happy all the time. I experience all the emotions, but I return to happiness quickly with the tools I teach. But I ate from the buffet of trauma. My early years in life were very hard. Experienced a lot of challenging things, as everybody does. And it's because of those hard things when I couldn't find a therapist that could support me when I was a child, when I couldn't access the tools that I needed. And maybe because those tools hadn't been written yet, I had to really figure it out on my own. And in so doing that, that's why I now teach the tools, because if they could work for me, they could work for anyone who is struggling, desiring more happiness, and wanting to find alternative ways to just prescriptions, wanting to actually do the inner work and find tools and systems that could help us thrive.
whenever you come to the salesperson will tell you, I know how to help you. We are having perfect solution for you. But in fact, you have a great product, you have a great offer, you know that you can help so many people, but yourself still inconsistent. Why it's like that? Because you misunderstand two basic principles. And let me tell you something, it's not economy, it's not war, it's not current president or political situation, none of that. Because simply you and money were always on the same planet Earth. You never left the planet, and most likely money never did it, right? The only two ways are the reason why it's like that. Number one thing which can be the reason is that you don't know the right way of presenting your offer. Number two can be that you don't know the proper way to whom to present it, which boils down to you don't know to whom to sell, or you don't know the right way to speak to the people to whom to sell. I have been scaling in the past 10 years multiple of my own companies and companies of my clients from $0 to $200,000 in sales, being in China, selling physical, perishable items like food and beverages, and without speaking Chinese, without writing Chinese, and without knowing how to sell to Chinese people. But I knew one core principle, and this is that psychology of people never change. So I knew to whom to sell, and I knew exact way how to present my offer to them. I was scaling up my digital businesses to hundreds of thousands of dollars, again understanding two core principles: to whom to sell, so who can benefit from my offer, and the way, when, and how to present them my offer. And there is no magic and there is no secret behind that. It's really easy to understand it. But in order to this video be very short, I put all of this together in the school community, which is completely for free. You can join it right now, clicking on the link below in the description box, and you can discover these two principles. It will take you a couple of days to figure it out yourself and to practice it, and then your sales will become consistent. Until then, see you in the school community. Bye for now. Was there anybody to support you in those painful moments, and especially in the moments when you was
Yeah.
eating alone in the toilet? That's
Yeah.
wow.
I will never forget. Her name is Christine Smith. She was the guidance counselor at my high school. And I wish today, we're doing this interview, you and I, from across the seas. You're in the Canary Islands. I'm over here near Toronto, Canada. But our schools don't have this unlimited access to guidance counselors anymore. And Christine was a safe space for me when I was going through my hardest times. So certainly around the depression, abuse that I was suffering after the time of my attack. And to be able to go and talk to her was incredible. I unfortunately didn't have a safe space with a therapist, because if you're a child and you share about hard things that are happening in your life, then that therapist has a duty to report. So I learned really quickly, I better not tell on anybody, or that person's going to get in trouble, and then I'm going to get in trouble. So once I exhausted the support from the guidance counselor, I'll tell you the most helpful thing and the pivotal moment in my life, Nick. When I came back to school after the attack and I was recovering, I don't know what came over me, but I did a project at my school and I told everything. And all I said, I was 17, I said, if any of you are struggling and you feel like you have nobody to talk to, you can come and talk to me. And 26 kids came and we started an impromptu peer-led support group where people were going through all forms of mental health, abuse, different traumas. Somebody was pregnant, all things going on. And the most helpful thing for me was the day I became a happiness peer mentor. I had to show up the next day. I couldn't take my life. I couldn't be self-harming. I couldn't not be okay because those other students were counting on me to say, we're going to be okay. You can't say we're going to be okay unless I'm okay. And that has been the moment for 29 years. I feel a charge to be a support for others, and therefore I have to be okay so that they can be okay. That has kept me out of depression for 29 years.
How long did it take you to overcome this?
So from 8 to 16 was really dark. Things got darker when I was 17. And I don't know how or why, but in the worst event, I'll just say that event led to cervical cancer. In the worst moment, I just made a decision. I don't know where I don't know where the inspiration came. I don't know where the strength came. But in that moment, I knew my whole life could derail and it would be okay. People would say, yeah, poor girl, like, look at all the things that happened to her.
Yeah.
Or I could take my life in a different direction and not live in that victim mentality and that victim energy. And I just decided in that moment, everything that happens to us happens to make us and not to break us. And what happened to me didn't happen to break me. It happened to make me. And it was going to be up to me. Who was I going to make myself into? How was I going to create good for others and good in the world and good for myself after all of those awful and dark years and experiences? And it was just a light bulb. It was a day of, I could genuinely feel sorry for myself. I'd have a valid ticket to that. But why? Why would I want that as my life story? And I did see a therapist one time before my parents said I couldn't go anymore. And he said to me, Hailey, you have to make the balance sheet for your life. If you leave the world, what are all the things you're going to get to escape? Which is a valid list. He said, but I want you to make a list. If you leave the world, what are all the things you're going to miss out on? And I'll tell you, Nick, I wanted to be married. I wanted to hold a baby in my arms. I wanted to experience real love. I wanted to raise children in a different way than I was raised. I wanted a future, and I just decided to claim it. I'm really not sure how.
Very, very, very interesting story you had, and seeing you today at the place where you are and who you are today versus who you were, it's absolutely, absolutely brilliant. I'm really, really giving you respect for that. And
Thank you. There's a choice, though. I'm thinking back to the question you just asked, and there's one piece I didn't answer. It's a choice. When people ask me today, how do people heal? The first step is we have to decide that we want to get better. It's not an easy button. It doesn't mean you get better when you decide. But at the very first, we have to decide we want to get better. We have to choose that. We have to decide that we're worth investing time, energy, money into to get better. And we have to hold this belief that things happen to make us and not break us. Because if everything, even adverse events, are here to make us, we're going to look upwards. But if we believe things are here to break us, the suffering, the downward spiral, it's going to be inevitable.
But when you say beliefs, and when you choose among those beliefs,
Yeah.
What was the hardest belief you had to accept about yourself?
Not so much about myself, but about the world. It's not fair. The hardest thing for my mind to wrestle with is it's not fair. Why do good kids suffer bad abuse? Why do nice people get their heart broken? Why do people who try really hard have health disorders? That was hard for me as a kid to wrestle with, but it's not fair. This shouldn't be happening. That resistance instead of acceptance of what is, that was a really long battle.
Have you ever thought about looking for a real guilt? Who is guilty for all of that?
Mm, not as an adult, certainly
Mhm.
as a child. And the reason not as an adult is now as a master coach in radical forgiveness, I have learned, Nick, that when we point blame, we remove any accountability, which means we also remove our power. So if it's
Mhm.
someone else's fault that I was depressed, well, then I give my power away to become happy. I'm making it external of what I'm living with internally. If it's someone else's fault that we don't have the right health or the right bodies or the right relationships, well, then the power lives outside of us. As an adult, I learned when I was 20 to keep our power, to do all we can to live a good life. It doesn't matter who did what to us. Whatever has happened, happened. But what we do next about it, that's up to us. And that's where the empowerment comes.
Very nice. Because I see a pure leadership in what you do. You're taking
Mm,
everything on your own. I'm responsible for how I feel. I'm responsible for how I think. I'm responsible for how I choose. And that's very beautiful. But in my mind, somehow, I believe that this comes from the moment when you become aware of
mm-hmm.
your trauma.
Yeah.
Do you think that most of people are aware of their trauma, but they suppress to somehow say, okay, yes, I'm aware of my trauma? Or do you
I
think
think
that
it's so
you're not?
relative. It's
Yeah.
so relative because in some people's experiences, in some languages, in some cultures, we don't describe things as trauma. We might describe them as a test or a preparation or an opportunity or a rite of passage. So it can be challenging to know for oneself that yes, what has happened to you is trauma, and is it a big T or little t, doesn't matter. But I think what's more so, at least for me, I really started to notice something that I call perpetrator's compassion. Let's look at somebody, for example, who commits rape. If we only have one victim, the person who gets raped, which happened to me when I was 17, then we're going to put blame on someone else did something to me, and the only poor me is the victim of the attack. But what if we expand our view and look at both people in that scene? I learned to wonder, Nick, what happened to him? How was he raised? What is his brain orientation? How many diagnoses does he have? What form of heinous abuse did he experience as a child? Where did he learn that the only way he could experience closeness is if he steals it and takes it from someone? And it doesn't make what he did okay or legal or right or fair or any of that. And it doesn't mean if I knew who he was, that he's invited over to my house or to be a friend. It doesn't mean any of that. But what it does mean is we might have two victims in every situation. The person who got hurt that day, which was me, but we also have another person who is hurting. They're not they're not well. And we have a phrase that you might agree with, which is hurt people hurt people. And
Mm.
I've learned to hold compassion for anyone who has been an abuser or a perpetrator or a source of harm in my life, to wonder what is it about their brain, their neurochemistry, their upbringing, their personal beliefs, their self-worth, their experiences, their trauma that put them in a place where they could do such a thing. Not because it's okay, but just to hold compassion for all people in a story. That really taught me that we are all responsible for what we do next, because we are a factor of our parts, but we can do better than that.
Do you understand, Your Highness? You're very high with
Oh.
your soul and with the way how you look at all these things, because not so many people are able to look at the things being hurted and consider actually the other
Mm.
side. And this is absolutely, absolutely brilliant. Uh, I'm so sorry for your experience, I must tell you, but
Okay,
the
I'm
the,
not.
the
I
way how
appreciate
you
you.
think, it's wow, it's brilliant. And
I don't
I'm
want any of our listeners to feel sorry. And I'll share why. I really believe, Nick, that everything single thing that happens to us, at least I can speak for myself, everything that happened to me was like a stepping stone moving me towards who I was supposed to be, who I'm supposed to help, where I am now. And I wouldn't take back one moment of my very dark past and childhood, because it wouldn't have allowed me to be here.
You touched me by that. This is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you think that modern relationships are getting weaker or stronger working with so many people now?
I love that question. My first answer inside my body was weaker because of technology. I feel like the competition on one's attention span has never been greater with social media and apps and notifications and AI and things being so easy. I feel like the good old-fashioned eye contact, quality time, deep conversations, slow pace of connection is highly disturbed and disrupted. So on one hand, I want to say weaker. On the other, I also want to say stronger, because through those same technologies, access to research, personal growth, inspiration, learning and development tools is so readily available that if a couple wants to be extraordinary, they can readily find the information on how.
Very interesting, because you wrote a book, Happy Love. We can see it now behind you. And when I read the title of the book, I said, like, okay, happy love. Interesting. Let's define love. How do you define love?
It's a good question. One that's really hard to answer, because it depends. Do we love pizza? Do we love ice cream? Do we love palm trees? Do we love our partner? So I recently attended a talk where it was defined of the 8 types of love, and going back into ancient Greek mythology and the different types of love. So I'm going to answer your question, Nick, assuming you're answering what does romantic love mean? As in married spouses, life partners, that kind of love. Because as a mom, I would give you a different answer for love of children. For me, love of my partner, my husband, means feeling like I have found a home. Like together, we are more than we are apart. We are each whole on our own, but when you add the 2 wholes together, it's more than 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 equals infinite possibilities. It's a feeling of safety. It's also a feeling of growth. It's a feeling of longing and desire. It's a feeling of deep connection and true intimacy. Love is, for me, also a choice. It is a daily intention. It beckons for an effort. It is not just to rely on it as the automatic, I feel like being in the mood to be nice to you today, and I don't feel like being in the mood to be nice to you tomorrow. Love, at least for me, is a state that I choose to cultivate, maintain, and strengthen, because I choose to be and stay in love with him, with my husband. Love is not easy. Love is not a steady state. Love has volatility. It has conflict and tension and difference and struggle. But the beauty must outweigh the tough currents. Otherwise, it is toxic and not safe. But in healthy love, it won't be perfect. It will have some stormy seas. And I just feel very blessed to be having another chance to have that love and to help couples around the world either fall in love with their current partner again if they've fallen out of love, or if they're single and ready to bring love into their life, finally create that healthy, beautiful love. Love is a work of art, and it's always a work in progress. But it shouldn't be just work. There should also be a strong undercurrent of true, raw feeling. When that feeling, that true, raw feeling isn't there, then it can feel like just work.
See, interesting thing. I have a friend of mine who recently changed the work. Due to his work, he changed the city. Before that change, it happened some sort of argument between him and his partner, his girlfriend, and they kind of like get in the cool relationship. In the way they still in contact, but will they be together or not? It's a big question mark under that. And I see that he used to that relationship. Whatever we speak, he still can mention her. Whatever we speak, he still can say something about her. And I didn't say anything towards that in order to respect what he's going through. But I want to ask you as an expert, uh, how to distinguish love from attachment? From I get used to that person, I get used to our routine, to
Yeah, it's a
whatever we do.
powerful distinction, Nick. And as you were asking it, I thought of one more thing from your previous question. Really extraordinary love, it's a container that's flexible. And so if we have a small container around our relationship, then one person can't change, grow, or shift inside it. The relationship, city, location, jobs, finances can't shift much, or it will break the mold of that relationship. But when we are in really healthy love with someone that's so aligned for us, we make a big container for this relationship. It leaves that wiggle room for one person to grow, go through health issues, go through financial issues, maybe go through a bit of a funk in their life, come back to grace. If we have that space, we can navigate life changes like what your friend is going through. But how do we know the difference between just a complacent, comfortable old pair of jeans and love? That comes down to the feelings. Because if we separate the feelings from the transaction, roommates can live together. Roommates can raise children together. Roommates can pay bills. Roommates can go for dinner or go for a walk together. Roommates don't have missing and longing for each other. Roommates don't like the smell of their roommate's skin. Roommates don't want to kiss when they wake up and before they go to bed. Roommates aren't texting through the day to say, I can't wait to be with you later. So it's not what the relationship looks like, the transactions, the coming, going. It's the feelings underneath it. They're either present or not present. We can do things to bring feelings up. There are also harmful behaviors that take feelings down. But it's hard to define the difference between, am I just attached to this person who's not really right for me, or am I really in love with them? Because those two relationships could look similar on the outside. What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? What's the pull on the inside? And is the
Very,
attachment healthy or not healthy? It's a big
very
factor.
powerful example you now made. I never thought in that way of roommates, but in reality, you are very right. And it's starting to be about need to be with that person, about need to spend time with that person, and the way how do you feel being very close to
Yeah,
that person.
sometimes
And
people go through the motions, and there's a common condition, I call it roommate syndrome, where couples who actually are life partners or married, and maybe they have children and homes together, their lives are very entrenched, and they describe to me every day, they feel like they are roommates. They're two ships passing, they do their jobs, they do their responsibilities, they do their expectations. There's no feelings, there's no longing, there's no missing, there's no connection, there's no conversation, there's no deep intimacy. It's just showing up and checking the boxes. That is more of a situationship and roommate syndrome than it is a loving and tender marriage or relationship.
that's very interesting topic, and I love it. You're opening even my eyes in the perspective where I never thought of it. And now I'm thinking, okay, then why people decide to stay in the relationship where they are not truly feeling what you right now described, which is pure love? Do you think that it's a
Oh,
habit, or do you think that people are just maybe not aware of observing the fact on themselves, like kind of unzooming from the situation, looking from the top?
Nick, this question is so good. I might even break one of my own rules to answer it. Before the show, folks,
Go ahead.
I said to Nick, you can ask me anything except politics, religion, and vaccines. So I
Yep.
might break my own rule in a small part. One of the reasons we stay in dangerous relationships is because of low self-confidence.
Mhm.
Another reason we might stay in relationships is because of fear of being alone, fear of the unknown. Another reason some people stay in relationships is because they are aware that financially they are not aware or empowered or having access, and they feel that they are in a financial prison in which they must endure their relationship or they will not thrive on the outside.
100%.
Another reason we sometimes stay in relationships is because We hope that we can change a person. This is a dangerous hope to hold, but we hold a fantasy of who they used to be or what they could be, and we don't want to trade this person's flaws that we know for the potential of somebody else's flaws that we don't know. But I'm going to break my own rule for a minute and say a major piece that I see every single week of why some people stay in a relationship is because how they were raised. There was a lot of shame applied to leaving a relationship. There are many, many people from many beautiful parts of this world that truly believe they will be ostracized from their family. They will be punished in their view. They will be experiencing harm and consequence if they leave their relationship. And that conditioning that many learn as children, it runs very deep. So what do we call that reason? Maybe fear, guilt, and pressure is one reason that some people stay. And ultimately, if you have a low self-worth and you don't believe that you're worthy of great love, you don't believe you're an amazing person, you're not confident enough that someone else could love you, sometimes, unfortunately, people will accept suboptimal treatment because they believe, sadly, that might be the best that it's going to get. And that's heartbreaking to me when people feel that. Another reason that people stay is they're pregnant. Or they stay because they have children and they feel like those children deserve both parents. They feel guilty about what they might disrupt for those children's lives. We stay for a lot of reasons. One of them, for some people, is sunk cost. What have you already invested in your relationship? Time, energy, money, your body, your family, your friends. Some people stay because they run companies together. So the list is endless. Is there any good reason to stay when you are in a dangerous relationship? None good enough for your safety.
Do you believe that people can change?
When they want to, yes. When somebody else wants them to, no. So let's use an example that probably you and I have met people in our lives that maybe suffer with addiction. Let's use alcohol addiction as an example. If someone hits their own rock bottom and they desire a life of sobriety, healthy relationships, healthy career, their driving license back, access to their children, when someone hits their own rock bottom and they make a decision to claim a life of sobriety, they will do the hard work and they are quite likely to get and stay sober. But when a person's partner says, if you don't stop drinking, you're out. If you don't stop drinking, I'll take the kids. If you don't stop drinking, I'll take the car. That does not motivate someone to change. That motivates someone out of desperation to do a temporary Band-Aid fix, which will not be sustainable. It's not real change. So I believe that, yes, when a person wants to change, they can. But if you want someone else to change, they won't unless they want to for themselves. Because change is hard, worth it, but hard. You have to want that for yourself.
Very interesting the way how you see that, and I'm very much agreeing with what you're saying, because some of the thoughts you're bringing to me personally right now here is that I never considered them, especially that one about change. And this confirms my theory that we are basically never ready by being ready. We just decide when we are ready. And the same thing is here. We just decide when we want to change. And that's it. It's not about who wants to change us. But one thing which I try to understand is I was speaking also, we said about with John Gray and his amazing book, which was sold in, I think, 5 million copies. I'm not sure in the number.
I mentioned his book probably at least every week or every other week to clients, for sure.
Yeah, and we're speaking about the book Women Are From Venus and Men Are From Mars. And I want to ask you one thing, which I also asked him, but I would like to hear your perspective. Why men fundamentally, and what men fundamentally misunderstand about women and vice versa?
I love this question, and I'm going to change the word, Nick. I don't think we misunderstand. I think we're scientifically built uniquely. And so when we look at a female-born brain, the amygdala in the female brain is like a muscle that you can train on steroids. Our brain, not because we choose it this way, but a female-born brain has a record keeper. We remember everything you've done wrong. We remember everything that could go wrong. We remember what somebody else did to us that was wrong. And so our lens in a relationship often comes with, it could go wrong, because we keep that score, not because we want to be this way. We just are. And often, if we sit down with a partner, we're bringing all this additional anxious energy about every past fight we've had, what could go wrong today, what might go wrong tomorrow. And when we sit with our husbands, a male-born brain has this extraordinary, powerful ability to have hyperfocus and focus on a task, especially based on survival, without worrying about what could go wrong, the fight we had yesterday, what I ate for breakfast, what my last appointment was. And this isn't about misunderstanding. It is about a different lens for the situation. We come in with everything on our minds and our hearts and emotionally charged. And if I sit with my husband, he's like, I don't understand why you're upset. That was 10 hours ago. That's over. Why are you worrying about that? All we need to do is this. So I think part of what makes us uniquely different and where couples feel misunderstood is something that we call our radar or awareness. It occurs to me to plan our anniversary 6 months in advance. It does not occur to my husband that we have an anniversary until a couple days before. We don't have a misunderstanding. My radar has just been pinging important anniversary for a long time. So I have very high hopes about how that's going to go. His radar only starts pinging anniversary the day before, a couple days before. We don't have a misunderstanding. We have different brains. We have different radars. We have different ranking on our priority scale. And if we can start to laugh at it, and he could look at me and say, yep, that's just her female scientific brain doing what it does, keeping the score. And I could learn to laugh at it and say, yeah, that's just his beautifully, scientifically male-born brain forgetting about everything that already happened and focusing on the moment. Instead of taking offense to each other or misunderstanding each other, we can bring understanding and compassion to say, we aren't the same people. We aren't built with the exact same equipment. And for that reason, we shouldn't expect the other to think. I don't expect him to think like a woman, and I hope he doesn't expect me to think like a man.
This is interesting, and I think that everybody now who is listening to us, either they're female or male, would agree with you. I'm agreeing personally, thinking about now my relationship with my wife for over 9 years. It's pretty much the same.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And somewhere I found by preparing for this interview, and I must tell you it was easy because you're everywhere. So
Thank you.
You say somewhere the transformation can happen in an hour. My question to you is, how exactly? Is there a pattern? Is there a blueprint we have to follow when we want that transformation? Because,
Yes.
multiple people, also people who are listening to this podcast, they have some sort of excuses. Yeah, I cannot change. Why I cannot change right now? I need this and that and this and that. And it takes time. And and then all of this looks like year, 2 year, 3 years project. And you're saying change and transformation can happen in an hour. Stage is yours.
And I believe that, Nick. And I'll tell you a couple stories, and I'll tell you why. In my practice, when I work with clients and I meet them and they tell me I've been in therapy for 20 years and I'm not yet better, I just want to give them a hug. Like, my heart is shattering for them to know how much they want to be better, how much time they've put in. And what's often missing are the key awarenesses, which I'll share, and the tools to be and become different as a person. So when I work with people, I work with them for 90 days. And if I work with an individual, it's 12 hours. And when I work with a couple, it's 13 and a half hours. On the last session, I teach you how to be your own coach, and then I graduate you out of coaching care. And instead of seeing me every other week for 3 months, you're going to meet yourself every other week for free for the rest of your life. We need to empower people and equip people with the tools and the thought process so that they can self-guide, because we won't always be able to have a therapist coach at our discretion, every hour of the day. But here's why I believe it. When I was in high school and I ate my lunch in the bathroom and I couldn't make eye contact, that's a very different girl than the professional speaker today. There was a moment in my life when I had to confront was being thwarted in self-expression, meaning I can't express myself to people. Was this serving me or harming me in my life? And I was aware enough as a 17-year-old that it was thwarting my progress, my quality of life, my joy, and making any difference for anyone else by not being self-expressed. In that moment, I decided I would become self-expressed and extroverted. There was no easy button. I didn't get to tap the cup and all of a sudden I'm not shy anymore. But on the day I decided, I began the process of becoming unshy. I started taking personal growth courses. I started speaking. I started offering to mentor other peers. I started the practice of becoming the new version of me. So the change isn't complete in an hour. The decision to change takes seconds, and then we choose our path. But some transformation can happen in an hour. Here's an example. I shared with you earlier that I battled an anorexia and depression from the age of 8 to 16. I'm going to tell you why and how it healed. When I was a little girl, my amazing dad, who I'm very close with today, I love him more than anything. My dad is what we say an undiagnosed, untreated bipolar. My mom suffers from clinical depression and anxiety. Our family struggled a lot financially growing up, and I'm going to let you fill in the blanks of what it might have been like to be raised by a bipolar father, a highly depressed mother, and in financial trauma. So our childhood was a mix of beautiful moments and very, very hard moments. But when I was a little girl and things were abusive and unsafe, I asked myself a question. I was 8 years old, and I said, why does this happen to me? There must be a reason. There must be I'm 8, and I'm wondering, why am I being treated like this? So I said in my analytical mind, maybe it's because I'm a bad kid. And I scanned my life, and I said, no, I'm not a bad kid. I do my brother's chores. I am my parents' therapist. I do really well in school. No, I'm not a bad kid. It must not be that. I asked myself 2 more questions. 1, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I get treated badly because I'm stupid. Maybe that's why. Remember, I'm only 8. I scan my life and I go, no, I have the highest average in my school. I do my brother's homework. No, I'm not stupid. It's not that. The 3rd question I didn't even ask. My brain at 8 just decided it must be because I'm ugly. That was all the rational sense I had at 8 years old to interpret abuse. And I wondered what was fundamentally wrong with me if people could mistreat me. And if I wasn't bad and I wasn't stupid, then I must have been ugly. And that started an 8-year journey of body dysmorphia, eating disorders,
You convinced
self-harm.
yourself in that.
One moment I convinced myself I was ugly. Now I'm going to tell you the one moment that I learned it wasn't true. I was 26 years old. I was taking a personal growth workshop. I was in a weekend course. And they did an exercise where they asked us to close our eyes and look back into our childhood and remember a moment where we became a part of us. Now, I was very insecure about my body, despite being in the fitness field, owning a gym, having a 6-pack, being in amazing shape. I never believed, Nick, that I was good enough, attractive enough. And as I was 26, I'm doing this exercise. I look back in my life and it hit me like a light bulb. I decided I was ugly when I was 8. And as I looked back on my timeline, I learned that everything I had thought since then was an invention of an 8-year-old's childlike mind, trying to make sense of a nonsensical situation. And in that moment, I realized everything that happened from there wasn't based on truth, wasn't even based on opinion. It was based on a desperate need. You asked earlier, is it comforting when we blame others? Yes, when I was 8, it was comforting to find something to blame to make sense of the abuse. But from that moment on, no body image, no insecurities, claiming health in my own skin. So can we transform in a moment? We can choose to transform in a moment, but sometimes we actually can transform in a moment when we have a light bulb realization that it's not real, it's not based on facts, it's not supportive, and it can collapse. The power can come out right there. That doesn't mean we're done solving the project. We have to do the healing work and put up the scaffolding and do
But
the
we started
personal
the process.
growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, just like that.
Do you think that then what actually changes in a person is awareness?
100% I do.
Mm.
100%. Because our thoughts, if we don't hold a thought that something is unhealthy, we won't desire to change it and make it healthier. If we don't hold a thought that this might not be my self-belief or fact, it might have been an error, we won't seek to do the work to
Okay, I have another question for you in the way of self-sabotage and human patterns. And I want to touch this topic a little bit because what I'm seeing from your story, you convinced yourself as an 8-year-old child, nobody could break you that belief, or maybe nobody was aware that you're holding that belief for a very long time. And you literally, how I like to say, shoot yourself in the leg. You self-sabotage yourself. Uh, do you found any reason why do you sabotage your own happiness? It was only that belief, but sure, but why? What is there a
we
reason why you
we
never
we
share it
are
with somebody?
Yeah, we are. It's such a profound topic, one that we would need hours to fully dive into. But I think at surface level, Nick, we are our own self-fulfilling prophecies in a way. I'll
Mhm.
give you a simple example. If you and I are competing for the same job, and that job is marketing manager, and or marketing in specialist, and you decided that you are worth no less than $250,000 a year. And I have decided that I am pretty worthless. I'm lucky if anybody takes me, and I'm not worth more than 50,000 a year. If you and I sit together in front of the same computer screen, in front of the same job board, with the same options on LinkedIn, or with the same physical newspaper, my eyes will not see the $260,000 post because it's above my range. If I see a $50,000 job or even 40, I'm going to see it because it's on my radar that that's all I deserve. You are not going to see a $50,000 post. It's not on your radar. It's so below what you've decided you're worth. You're only going to see the higher post. And at the end of the story, you're going to get a high paying job because you know you're worth it. I'm going to get a low paying job because I've decided I'm not worth it. So one of the ways we self sabotage, first of all, we are unaware that we are self sabotaging. We are unaware, back to your point on awareness, we are unaware that our self-belief is a limiter or a granter of our wishes. We are unaware that we have ourselves in a box. We are unaware that a higher self-worth exists or exists for us. And from that non-awareness, we believe that the crappy thoughts we think about ourselves are true. And therefore, we only allow people in our lives that make our beliefs feel true. If you think that you are worthless and undeserving of love, you will only take on an abusive partner or somebody who has an avoidant attachment style who will make it very hard for you to feel loved. You can't have good in your life if you don't believe you're worthy of the good. So by nature, we push it away. We don't do it consciously. We don't do it on purpose to make ourselves suffer. We're unaware we're in the trap. We're in a vortex. We can't see it. Other people can see it on the outside, but we don't really see it so clearly for ourselves. Once we do, we sign up for therapy.
Do you, yeah. Do you want to tell me that based on that, you believe that people attract who they already are?
Yes. I
Oh,
have a
yes.
saying, and I say we date who is a mirror for our self-worth at the time. When I look at my husband and I and the love that we have created and the story we have built, that is because I didn't know I was a 10 as a human being until I was 30. So I did not date 10s. I would be very happy, think I was quite lucky if I had a 2 or a 3 caliber person in my past because I saw myself as a 2 or a 3. So yes, we are going to date who we think is a match for who is a match for our self-worth as a time. We're going to attract in friendship people that are a match for our self-worth, our values, our behaviors, our habits at the time. And this is why we can get into healthier relationships when we become healthier, because we're always going to be attracting at a higher level as we elevate, and we will attract at a lower level if we decline.
Very interesting. And you're bringing me here topics which I never thought about, but I'm really happy to discuss it with you. And I will seriously think after this conversation about some topics and come back to you. But before that, seems to me that we, like humans, especially nowadays, we have so many blind spots in the relationships.
We
And I
do.
would like to ask you, knowing that you help thousands of people, what are the most common ones? There must be some pattern. There must be something what is for us
Uh,
blind spot and we don't see it until somebody else point on that.
100%. I'd say one of the scariest ones, because one of the things I specialize in is treating infidelity with couples. One of the scariest blind spots for couples is non-fulfillment of one's self or
Mm-hmm.
partner. So when we coast through our relationships thinking, we're fine, she's fine, he's fine, it's fine, we're going to be fine, oh, it's just a funk, oh, it doesn't matter. I think that we don't place enough attention on, no, really, how am I feeling? How is my partner feeling? What is the health check of our relationship? And it is often in our blind spot how our partner's doing, because so many people, Nick, by nature, they're not assertive. They don't possess the skill set, the bravery, or the belief system that they should speak up. And many people quietly suffer in passive unhappiness, non-fulfillment, sexual non-contentment, you name it. They don't have a framework from which they feel safe to share with their partner, or maybe they don't have a framework they feel their partner would be safe to listen. And so they keep their unhappiness a secret. They pull it off for a long time. And then when a partner says, I'm done, or I've met somebody else, the other person feels shocked. If you're shocked, it's all lived in your blind spot, all of it. The lies, the distance, the being with somebody else, the 8 years of unhappiness, the 5 years of not being sexually active, the 3 years of not sleeping in the same bedroom. Now, I'm not saying these things condone infidelity, they don't, but they are a cofactor in why it is happening in some marriages. Doesn't condone it, but it is a part of the story. And if you're shocked when your partner says, I'm not happy, I can't be with you anymore, everything they've experienced has been in your blind spot. And that's scary to me because my husband and I have a date every single week. We date every single Monday for 16 years. We talk. If I think he looks sad or distant, I ask him. If he thinks I'm not okay, he doesn't ask, but I tell him. Somebody has to ask and somebody has to tell. Otherwise, your whole experience of reality could be in a blind spot for your partner.
It looks to me that a lot of our behaving in the relationship might be subconscious in the way that
Yes.
we are a lot of times can say like, ah, let it go, just it's okay, it's fine. And we kind of like try to avoid those points. Uh,
And for a few reasons, Nick. One of them, I'm just writing notes as you're talking. One of them is, obviously a cofactor of how we're raised can be part of it. But two big ones that are not, I don't think, enough talked about are communication style. If we identify as assertive, which is the gold standard, versus passive, passive aggressive, or aggressive, if we don't identify as assertive, we're going to struggle with bringing forward requests to shift the precedent when things aren't working, to ask for change, to make meaningful repairs with our partner, to try to elevate a relationship. We're going to struggle with that if we're not assertive. We don't have a training ground on how to speak up. But also, our attachment styles play an enormous role in how we behave in relationships, and whether you have two securely attached people dancing together in life, or somebody who is anxious in their attachment, often dating someone who is avoidant. So the dance of that couple is pursue, retreat, pursue, retreat, pursue, retreat. These things have a big factor, but all of it is underpinned by our self-worth, our self-esteem, and whether we believe we deserve healthy relationships, and our cynicism. Do we believe there are good men and women out there? Is there such a thing as happy love? Is there such a thing as a healthy relationship? Often people have cynical beliefs. They're like, relationships are all messy anyways. I'll just take the one I've got.
what truth about relationships, people with whom you work are not very easy to accept or to hear?
What truth is easy to hear?
Not
That they
easy.
both, yeah, that they both play a role. There might be leading actors and supporting actors, but they both play a role in the connection or disconnection, safety and non-safety, fidelity or non-fidelity, They both play a role in co-creating the condition that the relationship is in. And this can be hard to hear for somebody that feels like they are being victimized in their relationship. They would much prefer to say, my partner is the abuser, my partner is the cheater, my partner is the one causing all the problems. But we're in a dance together, and it can be hard for the other person to learn. There are things they can adjust about how they speak, how they listen, how they ask, how they move in the relationship. My clients are wonderful, so they accept this, but it can be a tough pill to swallow at first.
If somebody is struggling in their relationships right now, listening to us, watching to our podcast right now in our conversation, and they start asking themselves questions, what should they do first?
You know, I'm glad I have 2 water cups beside me because I'm going to use my cups to explain. Okay, this cup says, be a kind human. And this cup just says X's and O's. As an individual in our life, Nick, we have our own happiness cup. Mine's filled with water. And it is our job to fill our own cup. So if you are in a relationship, whether you were single or not, the advice is going to start the same. It is your job to keep your cup full. That means that if we're single, it's our job to meet our own intellectual, emotional, spiritual, financial, entertainment, sexual needs. It's your job. You are a party of one. When we're in a relationship, there comes a second cup, the relationship cup. And we hope, we shouldn't expect, but we hope that our partner will want to make some deposits into this cup. Connection, quality time, physical touch, intimacy, adventure, shared support. So my greatest advice to a couple is, number 1, be whole yourself. Work on you. Be the most whole, well, happy, balanced, forgiven, with closure from your past version of you that you can be. And second, don't be afraid to extend that marriage or relationship cup, but without expectation, with invitation. Don't expect your partner to meet your needs. Don't expect them to read your mind. Don't expect them to show up and honor anniversaries the way you want them to. Teach each other how you want to be loved. Teach each other what matters for you, what does fill your cup, and especially teach your partner what empties your cup rapidly so that they know how to safeguard in the relationship. Love can be so simple and yet feel so hard. My second set of advice, Nick, to couples, if you're watching this in a relationship, there are 6 secret skills of happy couples. In fact, you're going to get them for free in the book. You need to learn how to optimize your quality time together. You need to learn how to talk so it causes connection. You need to learn how to make meaningful repairs when you're at odds. You need to learn how to make peaceful negotiations so you can ask for what you want. You need to learn how to love each other in the ways that matter and keep your cup full. And yes, if you have 2 human bodies that desire to be close to each other, you need to learn how to keep intimacy and physical connection alive to whatever capacity feels important to both of you. But beyond that, if I could share one simple tip, it's a skill we call takeoff and landing. So Nick, you said you've been with your wife for 9 years, yes?
That's right.
So when you're at home and she comes back, let's say she was out doing something, meeting a friend, going for a workout. When she gets to the house, if she comes into the house, the room, or the bed, that's a landing, just like an airplane at the airport. Now let's pretend she's in the house and you're going out. You're going to go see a friend. When you leave the bed, the room, or the house, that's a takeoff, just like the airport. If you want to be in love with your partner, I want you to change 2 things today and forever. First change, stop wasting the takeoffs and landings. Don't come and go like ships in the night. Take the few seconds to acknowledge all of those takeoffs and landings. A hug, a hand on the cheek, I like your shirt today. Good luck with the meeting. I can't wait to see you tonight. A touch on the arm, a little squeeze. These things are so easy to do, which means they're also so easy not to do. Couples that have drifted, they are ignoring takeoffs and landings. That is one of the differentiators of roommate syndrome. Couples that are in love, I'm telling you, Nick, when my husband walks in the door, it doesn't matter what I'm doing unless I'm in session. But if I'm not in session, if I got something on the stove, I'm going to turn it down. I'm standing at the stairs with my arms wide open. I can't wait to jump up and give him a bear hug. If I leave the bed in the morning before him, I kiss him. Every morning, if he leaves before me, he walks around to my side, gives me a hug, kisses me on the forehead. These moments say you matter. And these moments, when they happen, are micro moments of connection. So that's small tip number 1. And small tip number 2. When we fall out of love with someone, it's because we see everything that's wrong with them. If you want to fall back in love with your partner, for anybody watching this today, if you want to start to feel the feelings again and genuinely stop being so pissed off at your partner all the time, what's one thing that you can do about it? Scan your partner, scan your life, scan your day, and ask your scanner to tell you 3 reasons why they are a contribution to your life. Why are you glad that they're your person? Why are you glad that you live with them? Why are you glad that you are in a relationship with them? And if you can scan and catch them being good and seeing them as a contribution, these things help to bring back the in love, in appreciation, in connection feelings. So if we're only seeing the faults in our partner, we're going to fall out of affinity, respect, and love pretty quickly. And I promise you, if you start scanning for what's good, even in a really tough situation, every person has some good in them. And that doesn't mean there's enough good for your relationship to be safe. I don't know enough about those of you watching to tell you that that's enough. I don't know if your relationship is a safe place for you. I don't know if it's the right relationship for you. But if it is, if you're with a partner that is at your highest good, aligned for you, meant for you, you both still want to be together and have a lot of love there, then start seeing each other as a contribution instead of a deficit, and it will start to bring back those feelings. So takeoff and landing, see each other as a contribution, and remember the 2 cups. Keep your happiness cup full. That's your job. It's not your partner's job. And keep your relationship cup full, because why be in a relationship if you can't make some contributions for each other?
Beautiful, Hailey. Beautifully said, and I love it. And I have only one question more for you. Beautiful. This is really beautiful what you said. I want to ask you, what do you know now and you wish you knew 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Oh, that's a big question, Nick. Okay. One thing I know now is to walk a path of forgiveness. And I did not know how to do that as well, specifically 12 years ago. I learned that 11 years ago. The amount of pain that I remained in my own life when I struggled with forgiveness. I told you at the beginning, you had asked, what's one of the hard beliefs I wrestled with? It's not fair. So when things happen that are, it's not fair, it's avoidable, that was really hard for me. I wish I knew back then how to be a faster forgiver like I am now. If I was going back further than 10 or 15 years, I wish I could go back to that 8-year-old little girl and tell her, it's not you, it's not your fault, you're not ugly. But actually, her life has worked out really well. So in fact, she had to believe that. She had to go down that path. She had to battle depression. She had to marry the wrong husband the first time. She had to get out of the wrong relationship to get to a place where she could find the right one. So while I want to answer your question and go back and give my younger self the wisdom I have today, I would have ruined her life path if she had it. She needed to struggle. So I'm just grateful for what I know today. I want clients who are ready to have it, listeners who are ready to have it, to have the wisdom. But I actually don't think any of us need to go back in time and infuse the wisdom back then, because we would have distorted our path. And I'm okay with what my path had to be to get here. That's really what I want for others. I want you to get to love your whole self and your whole life and your whole journey, even the ugly bits, and especially the ugly bits.
That's very beautiful. Hailey,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sparing your time today and sharing all of this.
Sure.
You definitely shaped my own view on the relationship and how people actually see it. And I really want from the bottom of my heart to thank you. It was wonderful speaking to you today.
Nick, it was such a pleasure. I can just feel your heart, your love, your spirit. You have a deep knowing on so many subjects, and it's really been fun to hang out in this podcast interview with you today. And I hope we can make a difference for the couples that listen and the individuals that listen, because I firmly believe we all deserve to have happiness, but it's ours to create. And we all deserve to have love, It's a little bit of a belief system and a skill set for that love to go well. I do believe it's possible, though.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.